Hello, Illinois Tech. I'm your host, Sunny Shaw, bringing you the news like you've never seen it before, honest and unfiltered. Our team's mission is to address the topics that actually matter to Illinois Tech students and bridge the communication gaps within our community so that we can work together in a more informed manner. Or as Bernie Sanders might say, the IIT people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn Facebook posts. And I'm not the only one who is. In fact, this student went ahead and wrote his own Facebook post about how he's sick and tired of those who only criticize Illinois Tech, and while somewhat ironic, he does bring up some good points. Of course, there are a few issues with this college that we need to talk about to improve them, but who talks about the good things? Who talks about how 85% of our faculty strives to help us both academically and personally? Who talks about all the different free programs at our disposition? Who talks about the delicious chicken wings in Center Court and the Bog? Seriously, why are we complaining about increased tuition or the Commons food when we can just walk over to Center Court and start scarfing down some delicious chicken wings? But putting the jokes and chicken wings aside, many students do air legitimate concerns over Facebook. And so in our first episode, we're going to focus on an issue that's been of particular relevance the last couple of months: campus security. There has been a particular spike in the amount of robberies on or near main campus, with 8 robberies having occurred or been attempted just this school year. That's just behind the number of elevator entrapments and a good bit behind the number of MSV fire alarms. Whoever came up with the name for Easy Mac clearly has never seen IIT students trying to use a microwave. But nevertheless, the spike in robberies has raised the question among many students of what public safety is doing when they're not responding to fire alarms or saving students trapped in elevators. A few weeks ago, SGA even held a town hall about safety on campus for students to engage in discussion with public safety administratives. Unfortunately, there just doesn't seem to be that much that public safety can do to prevent these robberies.
The best way to address this is to take the perpetrator off the street. And that's what we've done in many, many situations. Again, the armed robbery at Keating, the primary offender is off the street. We had a rash of robberies off campus about a year ago, and Commander Williams from CPD 2nd District got the offenders off the street, and those incidents did go down. It doesn't mean they don't go back up again, because all of a sudden there's another bad guy out there committing crimes.
Public safety's main strategy is to simply make their presence as obvious as possible to deter crime. That's why you should be seeing officers walking, biking, and riding around campus more frequently this year. And public safety generally seems to be doing a good job, though it's hard to say due to the nature of their work. Because if everything works according to plan, then their jobs would largely be just to patrol around campus and bare their teeth at anyone considering committing a crime. For example, if someone is about to rob a student but then sees public safety officer coming around the corner and decides to turn around, we would never know about it. However, public safety only patrols around the perimeter of campus, and many of the incidents occur just a few blocks around that perimeter, around the apartments that so many of our students live in. Although technically it's not the responsibility of IIT to patrol off campus, IIT did develop the escort system, in which public safety would drive students home at night to minimize the risk of walking home. As you've probably heard though, President Cram took initiative to change that escort system, so that there's just one van that is solely responsible for driving students home from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., which is not part of public safety. The upside to this is that since public safety doesn't have to drive students home, they can spend more time patrolling campus and assuring that we're safe here. The downside is that there's only one escort van, and so many students need rides home. To make up for the shortage of vans, the escort van now isn't so much of an escort as it is a shuttle bus. Every half hour, the van makes one round trip and will drop students off at their choice of just 5 designated drop-off spots, as you can see here. And let's say you live here or here. It seems reasonable to ask to be dropped off on the way at your apartment so that you wouldn't have to walk from the drop-off spot to your apartment late at night, and then maybe the escort van wouldn't even have to go all the way there either. Well, we tried that, and the answer was no. The driver said we could not get out anywhere other than one of the 5 drop-off spots. So our choices were either to walk 3 blocks off campus to my apartment, or get escorted to a drop-off spot and then walk 3 blocks off campus to my apartment. So just out of curiosity, we took the 5 locations of robberies reported this year on the Public Safety Incident page and plotted them on the map as well. It almost seems like the new escort system is designed to be as deceptively promising as those 30-day ab workouts. I've been doing crunches for 30 days and I do not have a six-pack yet. And the change to the escort system was a major topic at the SGA town hall.
We used to have a system where If you wanted to ride off campus anywhere within a mile radius, you call public safety. That led to a lot of problems, and the reason is because first of all, we got a lot more calls when it was raining, which is when things are usually safer, which tells us it was something.
Wait a second. Isn't a vehicle that picks you up and drops you off where you need to go exactly what a taxi is? And at the end of the day, who cares if students are using the escort system with their safety in mind or because they're too lazy to walk? It serves the same purpose either way. That's like saying you can't have Diet Pepsi if you aren't on a diet. You don't see Pepsi saying, I don't care if you think Diet Pepsi tastes better. We are restricting Diet Pepsi only to those consumers that are intentionally trying to lose weight. All that the new system has really done is turn a taxi service into a much more ineffective and rather uncooperative taxi service. Rather than finding a way to serve the students that wanted rides home, they just made the process restrictive enough that so few students would actually benefit from it for them to get away with only having one van that makes one trip every half hour. But at the end of the day, these systems are put in place to benefit the students. I'm sure IIT would like to get another escort van and hire another driver, but the funding for that would just come out of our tuitions and lead to more complaints. However, public safety is ready to compromise to do what they can to help us. Just hear this student's complaint at the town hall.
It's just a suggestion if you can also put 37th into, it's something that public safety can drop us till there, because I have had to get back home at 2 a.m. in the morning, and that was the first day when I did not know that they don't drop till 37th, and I requested the officer, will you please drop me because it's my first day and I have no idea, I did not have any idea that, public safety doesn't drop to 37th, and they were like, I'm sorry ma'am, we cannot do anything.
We determined based on data of where people had been asking to be taken, we determined 5 shuttle stops. And it goes to those locations because that's where the most students were requesting to be taken. That being said, that policy was set over a year ago, and it's something that we would review to make sure there isn't an increased demand, because maybe now we have more students living in an area that weren't living there before. So we will take a look at that.
The escort system certainly has its flaws, but it's only been in place for 1 year. Arturo Martinez, the director of public safety, assured us that if enough students would just express their concern, IIT would do its best to address them. And that means responsibility falls both on the institution to make forms of feedback more well known and on the students to actually voice their opinions through these mediums, not just on Facebook posts. And if you live around here, I would strongly suggest you request some extra accommodation. Unfortunately, it's just not that realistic to expect IIT to be able to always escort every student to their respective homes. And that's not their responsibility, which is why the primary piece of advice that public safety will give you, as written on their website, is don't be a target. Now, I know what you're thinking. Just don't be a target sounds like something an overprotective mom would yell from the sidelines of her smaller than average son's football game. But it really is good advice. It means when you're out walking home, don't be looking down at your cell phone or have your headphones plugged in, and if possible, try to walk in pairs. If you walk with confidence and maintain awareness of your surroundings, that's immediately going to put you at a much lower risk of becoming a victim. Of course, you never know when something might happen, and there's not always much that you can do. We were lucky enough to talk with IIT student Anders, who ran into some trouble while riding his bike to a basketball game. Here's what happened.
I just got off work at the Arc at Herman Hall, and I was biking to Keating, where I had a basketball game, around, I want to say 4:30. And I was biking, and I pull up on 31st Street, right where you cross to get to Keating. And then a guy, like an old kid basically, on my right side who's standing facing the other way. He turns around, he's wearing the ski mask, so I can only see like his eyes and his mouth. And he just kind of pulls a gun out of his pocket and holds it like right next to his jacket. And then asks me for my wallet, and I give him my wallet, and then he just kind of runs off.
There's just so little you can do to prevent something like that from happening. But Anders took the appropriate steps of contacting public safety, and here's what happened next.
Right afterwards, I get on my bike, obviously, and I bike to Keating, and I tell one of my friends, she's working the front desk, so I tell her, I just got robbed. And I didn't really think of this because I was still just shocked. Yeah, I wasn't like, oh my God. I was just like, what happened, And then I told her, I was like, just got robbed. She's like, okay, we need to call campus security. She pulls up the phone number, dials the phone, everything. Within 2 seconds, she's interviewing me. She's like, who was he? How tall was he? What was he wearing? And I describe him, and then I guess like literally 2 minutes later, public safety pulls up in front of Keating. They walk inside. They talk to me, and while I'm talking to this public safety officer, his walkie-talkie like goes crazy. There's like a bunch of noise, and then he runs out the door mid-conversation. They come back like I want to say like 10 minutes later. And they're like, yeah, we think we got the kid. I need you to get in the car so we can go ID him.
They quickly found the bad guy, and it turned out to be a 14-year-old kid, now crying his eyes out because he got busted. Frankly, I wouldn't know what to say either. And according to public safety, this is not a unique case. In recent years, the
age of criminals is getting younger and younger, and because they're younger and younger, they're not being put into situations where they're off the street. They're usually let up pretty quick, so that could be a problem.
So the reason that we've seen recent spikes in robberies may be because the kids who get caught and are let back on the streets are still going right back to committing crime again. There's many reasons that this could be the case, from gang affiliation to broken or impoverished families to a lack of after-school programming. But there's much fewer explanations for what's being done about it. Due to the Illinois state budget, or lack thereof I should say, there aren't really any rehabilitation programs to help these kids that we identify as potentially threatening, or more importantly, in need of our help. The Grace and Peace Community, or GAP Community, is a volunteer organization that works to restore Chicago that first made the connection between Dunbar Vocational Career Academy, located here, with the crimes in the surrounding area, and decided to work with Chicago Alternative Policing Strategy, or CAPS, to address this. They noticed that the robberies occurring in this area typically happen just after the school day ended. And Sergeant Michael Cooney of the 2nd District acknowledged that while these crimes are not necessarily caused by Dunbar students, the robbers are often local kids. When it came time to take action to work towards the issue, the GAP group organized 2 meetings with 3 aldermen and Chicago public school officials. 2 of these aldermen and all of the CPS officials failed to show up to either of the meetings. It was the most disappointing freaking meeting ever, said GAP member Ken Calvin after the second meeting. We were really looking for input and resolution from CPS executives. I would be disappointed too. How can Chicago public schools expect their students not to ditch class when they're ditching their own meetings regarding how they can work to help students? While we're putting so much time, money, and effort into strengthening our security and avoiding danger, we're ignoring the root cause of the problem even when it's standing right in front of our faces, holding an oversized ski mask and maybe even crying. It's not easy, but it's surely not an impossible feat. Just consider the organization Defy Ventures. Defy Ventures is a nonprofit that works with people who have committed terrible crimes and supports them after they've served their time, and even transforms them into entrepreneurs and business leaders so that they can use their hustle to make something good for themselves and the community. And they're wildly successful at it. We're all ex-somethings. I wish we'd ask ourselves, what would it be like if I was only known for the worst thing I've done? Moved by empathy, we recognize people for who they are today and not for the mistakes they made yesterday. Millions with criminal histories would unlock their potential. If Defy Ventures can not only keep ex-criminals from continuing to commit crimes, but actually help them build their own businesses, imagine the change that we can help the kids in our community make to improve their lives. There's an old proverb that worry often gives small things a large shadow. And while it is important to stay vigilant and keep your ears and eyes open to avoid danger, as a community, we cannot diminish this danger just by hiring more officers and buying more escort vans. We must also keep our eyes and ears open to see and hear the actual people casting these shadows. Perhaps we'll find that with some extra support and attention, they're not so scary after all. So if you have any ideas, questions, or comments for us regarding any of the topics we've covered, please fill out the Google form in the description. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.